Hello, fellow Daz Studio enthusiasts. This is Not From This World, and I want to welcome you to another tutorial. Now, today I want to show you something that's really pretty cool, and it's going to help you with lighting. And that will be to make your own IRAY portrait light. And I want to give a shout out to Stubby128 over at Daz Studio for giving the directions to do this, and it's a really cool asset that you can create where you can enhance the lighting of your scene. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a portrait light, and we're going to save it, and then we can use it in any scene that we want, and this will work especially well in an indoor setting or when you need to add light in a dark situation. So let's get started. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to come up to our primitive tab and we're going to create a Taurus. Now I already have this set up, and we're going to choose the origin as the object center. We're going to make the primary axis Y positive, and then we're going to set up the Taurus so that its major diameter is 30 centimeters, its minor diameter is 29 centimeters, it has 36 segments and 36 sides. So when we create this, we're going to basically be getting a donut. Kind of looks like Blender here. Okay, so we've got our donut Taurus. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to change this Taurus into a light source. Now I'm going to select my Taurus. I'm going to go to my tools and select the geometry editor. I'm going to right click on the geometry editor. I'm going to go to selection type and select the polygon selection. I'm going to right click again, go to selection mode, and I'm going to select the marquee selection. Okay, the next step will be to go into geometry mode, and we are going to change this into an emissive light. So let's select the Taurus. We're going to go up to Tools, select Geometry Editor, and with the Geometry Editor selected, we're going to right-click, go to Selection Type, make sure it's on Polygon Selection. Then we're going to go to Selection Mode and make sure it's on Marquee Selection. Now, what we want to do is we want to select half of our donut. So I'm just going to hit this left cube, and it's going to take me to exactly the left side of my donut here, my Taurus, and I'm going to left click about halfway down, and I'm going to select half of my donut. So you can see I got half of the donut selected. I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to Geometry Visibility, and I'm going to say Hide Selected Polygons. And this is going to get rid of half of my Taurus. If I'm happy with that, I'm going to right click on it again, go to Geometry Editing, and go Delete Hidden Polygons, and we're going to get rid of half the Taurus. So now half my Taurus is gone. The next step is to flip our normals. So we want the light to come from the inner surface of our Taurus, and so we're going to change that by dragging and selecting the entire Taurus again. We're going to right click on the Taurus once again, go to Geometry Editing, and then select the flip normal of selected polygons. Now you're not going to really see anything, but what that does is it turns the normal inside out. Now if I go to IRAY mode, what we're going to notice is we see the donut from the outside, but if we look underneath, the donut has disappeared. All right, I'm going to go back into texture shaded. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to make this an emissive light. So I'm going to select the Taurus. We're going to go to the surface tab, and I'm just going to select every parameter by just hitting the shift key and selecting everything. Then we're going to come up to the Daz Studio formats. We're going to go to My Daz Studio library, scroll down to the shader presets, go to IRAY, Daz Uber, and then scroll until you find the emissive light. Then we're going to select it by double clicking. And now we have turned our Taurus into an emissive light. If you look under the surface tab, we're going to have a bunch of choices, and you can manipulate these, but we're going to kind of have a standard here. So let's make sure that our emission color is just set to white. We're going to just change the default emission temperature from 2900 to 6500. We're going to make sure the two-sided light is off. Our emission profile will be none. Let's take our luminance and leave it at 5000 for now. The luminance units we're going to change to watts. And let's take the luminous efficacy and bump it up to 150. And then everything else can stay the same. We can always go back and change our setup by going to the emission tab under surfaces, and then we can play with this. But for now, let's go back to the parameters, and I'm going to rotate this. Let's see, let's rotate it this. You can see I'm just going to kind of make it at -90. All right. I have a default camera that I'm going to manipulate here, and what's really cool is I can move the camera into the donut. So I'm just gonna move my camera directly into my donut hole here. It's gonna need a little adjusting. Okay, and then I'm gonna move the Taurus into the default camera. Now see, if I go to a different camera, you can see how this is set up. So I've got my default camera right in the donut hole, and I've got half of my donut. All right, now how I'm going to save this is I am going to save it as a subset. So I'm going to save it as a file, save as, scene subset. And what I've done is I've created my own folder. And I have a bulk render folder, and then I have a tutorial folder. And then within that tutorial folder, I just have a scene subset folder. I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to name this Portrait Lights. Once I have it named, I'm going to hit save. And then it's going to come up with this tab that's going to ask me what I want saved as the subset. I'm going to deselect everything except my camera and my Taurus. Once I have that, I'm going to hit accept. And now I've got this light set up. So let's put it into a scene and we'll see what happens. Okay, so I have a scene here with Enyo, who is Milika's friend. And let's add in that portrait light. So I'm just going to go to File, Merge, go to my tutorial folder, go to Scene Subset, and let's add in that portrait light. Okay, now the portrait light is right here under Default Camera. You can see that's got the Taurus. So what I want to do is I want to select the default camera, and I'm going to move away from the girl a little bit. Then we're going to raise this up. So here is my setup, and you can see it's oriented the wrong way. I want it kind of facing the girl's face. So we're just going to rotate it and move it into position. I can also go to my default camera right here, and then I'm looking through that donut at my girl. So let's move the camera to where we want it. Okay, I've got some spotlights built into this scene because I was using it for a prior project. So I'm just going to get rid of that, and you can see it's going to totally get rid of the lighting until we go into IRAY. Remember, this Taurus that we created is an IRAY light. So when I go into IRAY, now we have this light. And I can select this Taurus, go back to surfaces, and select the emission. Now I can change whatever I want. So I can go into my color. We can make it yellow. I can change anything I want to using IRAY. So if I want it brighter, I can jump up the luminance to, let's say, 10,000. That's going to make it much brighter. If I want it darker, I could drop it down to 2,500. So this is really pretty cool. And if I select that default camera, see, I can move it anywhere I want to set up my scene. Just select my Taurus, go back to emissions. Kind of like 5,000 watts. That might be a little too much for her. If I want to work in texture mode, remember, it'll be black, but I can select the scene and go Control L, and it'll make it so we can actually work in it. So I can then take my default camera and get it into the position that I really like. And then once I'm set up, I can go back to NVIDIA IRAY. And now I have a different way to make lighting. One thing to notice as I'm setting this up is my camera isn't quite enough through the donut hole of the Taurus. So you see it, the Taurus is kind of in our view. So to fix this, all I need to do is let's go to a different camera, and let's go back into texture. I'm going to select the Taurus, and we're just going to kind of move that Taurus back a hair so that the camera's kind of poking through. So if you have that problem when you are looking through your camera, see, now I don't have that issue. Can kind of zoom in. Okay, now I'm ready to render. So I'm going to hit save, because you always want to save. And then let's render this bad boy up. Okay, so the render finished. It looks pretty good. You can manipulate, change this light as much as you want. Make it brighter, make it dimmer. You can make it bigger, smaller, whatever you want. Just play around with it. It's pretty cool. I think anytime we can add lights quicker and easier, the better our renders turn out to be. So hey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and give me a comment or two. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day.